I met Jesus. Jesus transformed me. He changed my life. I hated Christ. I used to argue with people about him. I would come into people's lives and talk crap, and I would get offended at anyone that would try to talk about religion with me, and I'd call him Sky Daddy, and I would say the Bible's written by man, and I'd talk about the Catholic Church and what they did with the Bible, and it's like all the same things that people now say to me. It's exact. It's copy and paste. It's the same tactics, the same brainwashing that the enemy has used. And when I was at my lowest, hopeless and desperate, Christ showed up in my living room. I felt the presence of God show up, and there was an instant transformation, and it brought me to my knees, sobbing hysterically, begging for forgiveness. And so it was a radical transformation that I experienced. And I went from not believing in God to knowing He's real. It was that quick. I just know He's real. Boom, and I was. Whew. And I'll tell you, man, the story I'm telling is a little. It's two separate parts. It kind of got jumbled together when I was talking about it. But I watched my wife go through a spiritual awakening, and I went from not believing in God to know He's real. I know He's real, and I was like an atheist / agnostic / a-hole. I was a jerk. I was a narcissist. I was a pathological liar. I was an alcoholic. I was an empty shell of a man. And it was so empty inside of me that I was actually Googling, am I a sociopath? Because I just felt nothing for anyone. I was just disconnected from everything in the world. And God kind of pulled the veil back of reality one day, and He showed me into the spirit world. And He showed me He's real. And I went from not believing in Him to knowing that He exists. I don't know what that means yet. I'm like, I don't know what this is, but okay. And so a couple of days later, I was sitting in my backyard, and I just had this overwhelming feeling and this knowing that I had sinned against a holy and righteous God, and it broke me. And I got up and I went over to the grass, and I fell on my face onto my knees, and I gave my life to Him, sobbing hysterically, begging for forgiveness, broken, absolutely broken. And so it was a pretty radical experience. He brought me to very much like godly sorrow, it's called, and I find out now, and contrition of the heart, where I felt remorse for my sins, because I realized I was not sinning against people, especially my wife. My wife took the brunt of it, but I was sinning against God. I was in rebellion to God. And so that realization of my sin, it made me fearful. And the Bible talks about the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And I get what that means. You know, people talking about, oh, well, God is love. God is love. God is righteous and holy and perfect. That's what He is. Love is a result of that, because He always does what's right. But God is holy. And so me being filthy in my sin terrified me, thinking of having to stand before Him the way I was.